Hello, YouTube. This is Ewan Spence and ESC Insight calling. We're going to Liverpool for the Eurovision Song Contest, and France will be joining us. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Myself, Ewan Spence, Scott Reid and Ariadne Griffin are working through some of the songs heading to this year's Eurovision Song Contest. Up in the dock today, it's entry from France, Évidemment from Zarra. You can listen to this in full, along with all the songs, listening to our podcast, www.escinsight.com, but we're clipping out just the song highlights for each entry here on YouTube. And it is a welcome return to an opening introduction with a timpani roll. We haven't had one of them at Eurovision for many a decade. So France, for that alone, thank you very much. Ariadne.
I love this, but I was always going to love this because it feels like it's cut from the same cloth as Monica Lou's Sentimentai from last year, which it's got that sort of vintage feel with a sort of modern aesthetic to it. And I just think it's really chic and sort of pristine, but I think that could work against it because, as we've spoken about before, are we wanting something that sounds so polished and almost sort of plastic disco?
It's an odd one because when it starts, it feels like it's going to be full-on Bond theme, and then it suddenly, 1 minute in, flips to like you say, disco. And when it goes a bit disco, it feels slightly directional for me, not completely. It does have a journey and it does have a big end. It's got some hefty, big show-off notes at the end. I'm not sure what the televote will make of it. I do think there are notes in here that the juries will clamber onto, and this is possibly the whole discussion about whether the Big Five have got a slight advantage here because they don't need to go through the semis, and they can think about that sort of consideration. If nothing else, France is playing to its strengths. This feels, I mean, what other countries sending us? This does feel very, very authentically French.
Well, last year, Lithuania.
Well, that's true, actually. But that does feel... I know it feels in that sort of category, but it still feels separate from it in a way that I can't explain very well. It would not surprise me if the juries latch on to this one.
I mean, France has been incredibly French for the last couple of years. And I think for like 30 seconds of this, it continues with that incredibly French roll. You have that timpani roll. You have that pin drop to take you back into the chanteuse style. And at that point, I was thinking, okay, you're right, you don't have Barbara Pravi writing this song, but you've taken all the right lessons. And then it moves into that tiny period of 1978 when everybody thought John Travolta was it. And it just brings in this funk, this disco. And look, the French identity stays in the song all the way through. That idea of chicness that you had there, Ariadne. Yeah, that doesn't go away. But the style, the move from chanteuse into funk, it's not two songs crashed into each other, but it's like the crossfader has got kind of stuck in the middle and it's not sure which side it wants to be on. It starts off and ends in the same place, curiously, but in the middle it dips into something else. It doesn't make me feel fabulous for the entire 3 minutes. I think that's my issue. It's like I want to feel fabulous for the whole song, but I don't.
I do remember thinking this does feel longer than 3 minutes, which is never a good sign. It's almost like a weird disco sandwich where it's got like a big dramatic start and then at the end this big dramatic end, and then midway through it just starts to go dum 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 dum.
Scott, you lose points for not saying it was a disco tango.
Sorry.
We will return to that joke when we judge Finland later on, but for now, back to Scott.
Yeah, it's an odd one. It's got dramatic moments that say to me if she pulls off mega notes on it, I can see the juries going for it.
I mean, I'm perhaps entirely glamoured by the shoulder shimmy in the music video, which I'm on the floor every time she does it. I'm obsessed with it. I'm firmly behind this song. I love it. She can do no wrong by me.
And it's fabulous for me at the start, and it's fabulous for me at the end. And look, we who follow the Eurovision contest all year round tend to analyse these songs to the absolute death. I don't think people listening to this for the first time on Saturday night, they'll get a little preview in the semi-finals, are going to be that picky about the middle bit. I think they're just going to feel that chicness all the way through. And I think that will pull Zarra up the score table as well. And, you know, there's a lot of love for that funk disco beat going on just now, even in the charts across Europe. So there is a certain pool to get the votes in on this song. And I think that will, you know, bring it up. Will it bring it up to the left-hand side? I think it might. Maybe from me.
It's a hit for me, and I think she could quite easily crack the top 5.
And I'm going to go down the middle here and say that I think you're right. I think we can overanalyze this, and I think there are big notes to be played here that if she pulls them off, people will notice the song. It does stand out. I would be surprised if it doesn't land in the top 10, maybe a lower bit of the top 10, but certainly the top 10. So on that basis, I think that'd be considered a hit.
That's the ESC Insights review of the French entry heading up to Liverpool for the Eurovision Song Contest this year, 2023. Zarra singing Évidemment. As always, you can listen to the full reviews back in our podcast. You can read more on our website, and you can leave your comments here on YouTube. More song reviews as we work through all 37 coming up. Link, like, love, share, subscribe, the usual YouTube stuff. That goes in here. I'll say ta-ra. I'll see you in the next pod. Or YouTube, or clip, or video. We're calling it vid, aren't we? Video? Clip? Just play the music. You've been listening to the highlights of Jukebox Jury as we preview the Eurovision Song Contest 2023. Find out more and listen to our podcast, www.escinsight.com.